I think it's time for Maryland football to fire Mike Locksley.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you guys for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. The tough conversation today, but I think I've come to realize that Maryland football is going to have to fire Mike Locksley probably at the end of the year. So this year is just going absolutely downhill. It's going absolutely downhill, and it is not looking great. It's not looking great for Maryland football. I thought we had a really good opportunity to make a bowl game. I thought we had a really good shot of having a really good, probably like 7 or 8 win team, getting back on track, and then next year having the potential to blow up. And we were really going to kind of get things going based off of how the first 4 games are going. And it's not necessarily that some of those things aren't true. Like, I still think we're going to have a real opportunity to make a bowl game. We still need 2 wins, which is going to be really difficult to get to be completely honest. Like, it's going to be hard to get 2 more wins with Maryland football's current schedule. And I think that we should already probably be at the 6 win mark. Like, that's probably where we should be right now. We should probably have about 2 losses, and those 3 losses that we've taken back to back to back probably should be wins. And I think the more and more we talk about the timeline of this program and where this program is going, it's kind of been like climbing up the mountain for a while under Mike Locksley. Like, there was a point where every single year we would add a win onto our total and things were looking good, recruiting well, all those different things. And now it kind of feels like we're on the other side of the mountain where we're starting to walk down it. And clearly last year was really bad. Only won one Big Ten game against USC. Really bad year overall for Maryland football. And to be completely honest and to be fair, it's starting to look a lot like last year. Like, win non-conference games, beat up on some teams that we know we're going to win, and then look at Maryland football and be like, well, we lost. We won our non-conference game, so our record honestly doesn't look that bad. But real people that have been paying attention to this thing know there's so many issues with Maryland football, and I think my biggest reason why is this 3-game losing streak with Mike Locksley. I think we saw last year a really bad season. I was willing to cut him some slack, and I said this year it has to be better. We have the easiest schedule in the Big Ten. There's not a team in the Big Ten that has an easier schedule this year than probably Maryland football. And maybe that has kind of changed based off of how teams have shaped up and how good teams are. But I still think it's one of the easier schedules in the Big Ten. And so I was like, this year, Mike Locksley has to be better than last year. I'm sure it will. You get a really talented quarterback. You get some really good, freshmen. You get some good transfers, whatever the case is. And it's more of the same. And it's more of the same, and it's not getting better. It's not getting better under Mike Locksley. And when you lose 3 straight games where every single one of them you were up at a certain point in the fourth quarter. And just to start with Washington, you had a 20-0 win, or you were up 20-0 on Washington. 20-0. Nebraska, you were up in the fourth quarter late, like very late, with a couple minutes to go. UCLA, game's gritty. It's slow. There's not a whole lot of offense. You're up late in that game. You're up in the fourth, and you end up losing all 3 of them. And that's when I start to really question Mike Locksley, and I start to say, I'm not saying to do it mid-season, but I think after the season, I think it might be time. And I think there's a real chance that it ends up happening, or it's going to be the other way where the seat is just so hot that it's definitely going to be something that is talked about a ton. But to me, it's like I talked about it a little bit yesterday. those aren't talent issues. It's not a talent thing for Maryland football. And I think going into the year, I think a lot of us thought that it was potentially more of a talent thing for Maryland football if we were ending up losing a lot of games. Like when Vegas set our lines, they do it on talent. It's less about, oh, this is that coach, that is that coach. It's more about what teams have the guys, what teams don't. And so when they set the line at the beginning of the year, it's like, okay, clearly Maryland's just not that talented of a team in their books. But now it's like when you watch us, when you've seen what we've done, we're just blowing it. It's not like teams are necessarily so much better than us, or it's not like teams are outplaying us. We're just blowing it. And I think it starts at the top. It starts with him. It does. A lot of it has to do with the strategy behind how we're playing late games, clock management, all those different things. And I think he's a good recruiter. I think he's a really good offensive coordinator when he can focus just on that. But as a head coach, it just hasn't materialized over the past couple of years. I know it started off well, but that's how a lot of these things go. And when you just start hitting that back train, it just doesn't look great for Maryland football. And so you've lost 3 games when you've been trailing every single one of them, or when you've been up in the fourth quarter and every single one of them. That's absolutely a problem. It's a huge problem. That's like one of those key indicators of coaching is how your team performs in the fourth, how your team performs later on in the game. Everybody's good at dialing up the offense in the first quarter when there hasn't been much adjustments. But what's the deal when teams start making adjustments, when teams start changing, when teams start having to do different things in the second half? And Maryland has been pretty awful at that so far this year. And I like against Washington, we're literally up 13-0, and Washington scores 21 points in the fourth. Can't find a way to adjust. And there's these key problems that we're having under Mike Locksley that I wonder if we can fix, if another coach can fix. Like sometimes coaches just can't figure out some position groups. Like you hear it all the time. And there's a couple of problems that Maryland football has had that hasn't really changed. I'll give us this. The pass rush has gotten better, but I think that's more about us having 2 freaks coming off the edge. But part of it is recruiting. I don't want to like discredit that. That's been a huge problem for Maryland football over the last couple of years. It's up front, but the problems that haven't necessarily gotten better is one, the run game has been abysmal over the last couple of years under Mike Locksley. We can't run the ball. We can't support Maliek Washington, and there's way too much on his shoulder for Maryland football. And so we can't support him in that way. And then you look at the offensive line, it's not playing great. It's not. It's just not. Malik doesn't have a ton of time. The running backs, especially, don't have too many lanes. And it's been a core problem under Mike Locksley. And there's just been things that you just keep looking at every single year. And you're like, we hope and pray that that's better, but it just ends up not being. And so the situational stuff and not being able to improve the flaws that we have every single year, it's to me, it's like it just might be time. And there's clearly backlash and another side to this where it's like, what happens to all the recruiting? What happens to guys like Malik Washington and all the freshmen that are playing very well? And so I wouldn't be quick to do it. I think to me, it's like, I don't know if this is a possibility, but it's like if Malik decided to enter the portal, which is very much possible, and Sidney Stewart decided to enter the portal, which is very much possible before we fired Mike Locksley, then I would be like, it's just time to start over. It's time to change it up. It's time to start over, and it's time to put somebody new in there, fresh, somebody that can get the job done, because clearly we're losing guys, we're losing players, and we just need to start this thing over. And so I think it's tough because you could end up actually sometimes you know what they say, you have to take 2 step backwards to take 5 step forwards. I don't know the exact quote, but it's like something like that. And so that might have to happen. And I don't know how appealing this job is, to be completely honest. And so it holds me back there as well. But we're getting stuck. We're just getting stuck. Things are stale. Things aren't going exactly the way I think we want them to go. And I think something has to give, something has to change for Maryland football. And it's definitely something I'm looking at right now. So that's definitely something I want to see change. I want to see us get better. And so we'll see how that ends up going. But I think it might be time at the end of the year to fire Mike Locksley. Does this team really have a chance at making a bowl game? What's next for this team? What's realistic expectations for the rest of the season? I'll talk about that next. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone their worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, an all in one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy to use interface on your laptop or your phone. It helped me organize my accounts, track my spending, and get a better handle on my investments without having to touch a spreadsheet. I love how I can review everything with my partners, see our shared goals, and make better financial decisions together. Monarch dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where money's going and how to make work harder for or make work easier for me. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code Locked on College at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com and Locked on College for half off your first year. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet and put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Any interesting stories you can talk about? I love how FanDuel gives you so many ways to play. I built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during the games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. So I want to talk about like where do we go from here with Maryland football? What if you could look at it at the side of wasn't thinking about this before, but what keeps Mike Locksley's job? What do we go from here where we feel good about our season and we feel decent about it? I think the number one thing is getting to a bowl game still. Sitting at 4 wins, it's definitely possible. Like Rutgers and Michigan State are 2 games Maryland football can absolutely win. 2 teams that you can absolutely beat. 2 teams that aren't really that good right now. They're just not. They're 0-4 in or Rutgers is 0-4 in Big Ten play, and so is Michigan State. So you look at those 2 games and you're like, okay, those are 2 games you should be able to win. Winning both of them, I don't say it's like on the more likely side. I can see Maryland dropping one somehow, but beating a Michigan State, beating a Rutgers should be entirely possible. And we still have those 2 games. So it's entirely possible to still make a bowl game. And that's why early on the season, I was like, I think Maryland football makes a bowl game because there's just a lot of games that we should have the chance of winning. And so Michigan State, Rutgers, I think are 2 really good options in winning a bowl game. I just wonder with Maryland football. I think a bowl game could potentially save Mike Locksley's job, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think if we got to 6 wins with this team, I think it saves his job. I think it does. I think not getting to one probably might make him lose it. That's where I'm kind of at with it because I did say from the start of the year, making a bowl game is, I think, the really only goal because I thought the roster was a lot worse than what it was. And as we've gone on, I've realized, wow, Maliek Washington's really freaking good. Sidney Stewart's really good. Daniel Wingate's really good. You have Lakai Rollins playing like a top rated corner in the Big Ten. Like there's a lot of good teams. And so that's why the expectation changes as you go along. And I didn't think like Nebraska and people thought UCLA would be better. Washington, like I didn't think we'd have those types of leads over those types of teams. But to look out in the future more, I think you got to get to a bowl game. I think it's really discouraging if you're not playing an extra game at the end of the year. I think it's just better overall. And then I can't believe how far we are into the season now that we're like more than halfway through. To me, that's kind of crazy, but that's a bit of a side point. And then I look at it and I'm like, okay, you got to make a bowl game, but I think you want to. I don't want to say if you want Maryland football fans to be happy with how the year ended up after selling the last 3 games, you might have to upset someone. You might. And that's from more of a fan perspective, even potentially for Mike Locksley perspective, whether it's this weekend against Indiana, which is going to be a really interesting game for Maryland football because Indiana is one of those teams that's playing at a really high level that's really good right now, ranked number 2 in the country. Like, we get an opportunity to play the number 2 team in the country. Haven't been able to talk about it too much, but that's a huge opportunity to be able to play the number 2 team in the country. Like, we should be excited about this coming game this weekend. But for me, it's kind of like, okay, like we have the opportunity to play Indiana. We have the opportunity still to play Illinois, to play Michigan. I don't want to see games where it's like, dang, Maryland football just got blown out. I want to see us compete. And I know that's tough because there tends to be a lack of motivation when you get so far into the year. And it's like Maryland could easily right now be undefeated, to be completely honest. Like, easily could have won the Washington game, easily could have won the Nebraska game, easily could have won the UCLA game. That's where it starts to get pretty disappointing with things. It's like, dang, Maryland right now could probably be undefeated, despite not being that. And so I think the Indiana game, I think you get a chance at Illinois, who's ranked 23rd right now, and Michigan. One of those games needs to be like a real battle. One of those will probably be a blowout, could be this weekend against Indiana, but one of those needs to be a real battle. I think you need to beat Rutgers and Michigan State, and you need to show up in one of those games. And one of them needs to be close, whether you win it or you don't. One of them needs to be close to be able to show us something. And we've shown that we could compete with talent this year. Like, Nebraska's talented, Washington's talented. So UCLA, they broke Penn State and they've won 3 straight games. I don't want to say they're like insane, but they're clearly a new team right now, and so I think you have to do that for people to feel good about this thing. But it's crazy that we're more than halfway through. But I think the big thing for Maryland football is it's right there. Like, the jump is right there. You could bring back Maliek Washington and bring back all these freshmen and really take a next step next year. Use the portal well, and you could really take a next step next year. But there's also other world where it's like, is it going to break down and a lot of guys are going to leave and go other places. So I think as a real outlook, I think that's huge. And that's why I think winning some of these games is important. You don't want to lose a bunch of these because Malik has no obligation to stay here. We know how this thing goes. I don't want to act oblivious to it and be like, yeah, he might just stay just because. Like, well, let's not act like that. So I think it's important to have good games down the stretch, win a bowl game, I think or get to a bowl game, whether you win it or not, I think is less of a matter. But I think you got to get to the 6 win mark, or people are going to be pretty disappointed with this Maryland football team. And more holistically, I want to see our team make strides. Like, I want to see guys get better. Like, I want to see us get back to kind of where we were early on in the season and the confidence that we had. And who knows this week against Indiana? Who knows what could happen? But I think Mike Locksley needs a moment. He lacks a lot of moments as a Maryland coach. I think he needs a moment. So we'll see exactly what happens with Maryland football. But I think lastly, I want to talk about Maliek Washington. The legs, it's got to be a thing for the rest of the season for Maryland football. We'll talk about that next. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's nothing like it. But let's be real, actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives advantage back to fan. It's easiest way to score last minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. The app is made super simple. I could see exact view for my seat before buying. And I've used the Game Time app a couple different times. I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25. I love zone deals too. Pick the section, Game Time picks the seat, and you save big. honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I brought tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets, college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked on College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go to the download the Gametime app today. Maliek Washington has to use his legs for the rest of the season for Maryland football. I know he's not a run first quarterback, and I love that. We don't. I wouldn't want to have a guy that is more run first, can't really use his arm that well. Like that's not what you want in today's college football or NFL, whatever the case. You want a guy that can throw the ball, can make all the throws, but obviously has a lot of playmaking ability, and that's what Maliek Washington is. But I think we've been kind of holding back on the run game, and I think it came out last week against UCLA because we absolutely needed it. But I think it has to be a thing for Maryland football to be able to reach a bowl game, to be able to win games down the stretch, be able to compete with some of these high-level teams. Like just talking about this weekend's game, I think, or this coming weekend's game against Indiana. For us to be in this game against Indiana, Malik's going to have to make a couple plays with his legs. I think it's a guarantee. I think it has to happen because there's so much pressure on him and there's way too much riding on him. We don't have a traditional run game. We just don't. DeJuan Williams had a really good game, but it's not like a lot of his production came off the ground. It came off the receiving game. And so I think for me, I'm like, okay, how do we do this thing? And the best way to kind of get a quarterback going or beat having a ton of pressure on you as a quarterback is one, like make some easy throws, have the coach draw you up some easy stuff, some dumps, take what's given, check the ball down, start getting in a rhythm before you start really making the big time throws. I think that's absolutely true. But I think also another way to do it, get the legs going. 3rd and 5. Okay, you go to your first read, your second read, your third read, all not there. Let's tuck it and run. Let's get yardage. I think that's something that Maryland football could do a lot better, and something that we need to do a lot better is designing more things for Maliek Washington and letting Malik's athleticism. Like he's a freak athlete. Kid can run. Like he's probably a pretty high level runner in terms of what his numbers would be. So I think that's something we really need to look at for Maryland football, and that Maryland football could really honestly get better at. And so that's something else I'm looking at for Maryland football that we could continue to work on, that we could continue to get better at and to release some pressure because it's clear that I don't know if a single game this year we got anything going on the ground game, and it helped us a ton against UCLA when our offense wasn't really going. 6 carries, 67 yards from Malik. That's big time because right now we just can't get consistent rushing. Like Nolan Ray is regressing. He might be gone after this year. DeJuan Williams, he's the guy right now, and he played really well receiving, but on the ground, 14 carries, 47 yards isn't doing too much. And so you're like, how do we get things going on the ground game? It's Malik running the ball. And I think that has to happen for Maryland football to have a chance against Indiana. An Indiana team, it's elite. It's elite right now. It's hard to tell how good they actually are. Their quarterbacks, the Fernando kid's really good. I love his game. I think he's really good. Could be the number 1 pick in the draft. I think when you look at them, they're not quite as talented as your typical number 2 team in the country. Like you think of a number 2 team, you think of like Ohio State, just littered with talent and things like that. They're just playing the game. That, don't get me wrong, they have a ton of talent, but they're playing the game the right way. They're putting guys in the right spots. They're really well coached. And I think to beat some of that, and they're doing some things good defensively, I think Malik is going to have to run the ball as well as throw the ball. And so if that's the run game, so be it. But that's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps.